again, and welcome to Manch Talk. I'm Tammy Garthwaite.
Hey guys, I'm Carla Garrick.
How is it like?
It's
almost
50 degrees.
It's warm. It's very warm. What was it like? I wasn't in Manchester yesterday. Was it really, really warm?
It was okay. I mean, it felt like mud season. My backyard is like,
I'm sure.
like
yeah.
ooh.
And we went from out in Wakefield. We went from having snow to like, well, I mean, there might be. I doubt if it's warm today, we probably don't have.
I mean, I was just out with my neighbor. We went for a hike at Pawtuckaway Park, and there's no snow like on the trails or anything. So I think it's going to be totally clear, which is nice because maybe when was it so cold?
There was it's going to be cold this weekend. It's going to be. I mean, I'm not sure what the temperature in Manchester is, but I want to say Friday night it's going to be like -2 in Wakefield.
What?
Right? I'm not kidding.
You're not talking Celsius now. You're saying
no.
Fahrenheit.
No, while we're talking, I'll
-2 Fahrenheit. I don't think I've ever even
and
heard
then
that.
next week it's like back in the 30s. I was like,
So my prevailing theory is we're about to have a magnetic excursion and the whole world is about to lose its magnetic poles, which means Santa's not going to know where to go.
It's Manchester, Saturday night. Saturday, the high is 28, the low is 8. Sunday, the high is 19, the low is 4.
I mean, at some stage, actually, Celsius and Fahrenheit become the same thing again.
Just cold.
And to me, at that stage,
I was surprised.
You're just like, ow.
And then it goes back up, like by the 27th, it's 40 at 40 for a high, 32 for a low. You know.
So, anyway, it is my husband Louis' birthday, so happy birthday, Louis.
You were talking about Pawtuckaway. It's gone. It's fine. So I heard something on the way over today. Completely, I don't know what you brought to talk about, and I thought, okay, can we just stop? So, Congressman Pappas, because this is important statements from Congress critters, thinks that people who steal packages from porches should face stiffer penalties. And I was like, then just regular thieves? Like, isn't theft? How about we just prosecute theft?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why is it so stealing a package off of somebody's porch is somehow you should be penalized more than if you break into somebody's house and steal something? I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. Just prosecute people for theft. Now, everybody who's ever had anything stolen will tell you that you can't prosecute theft because they don't investigate theft.
Right.
You know.
So maybe just have Pappas tell the police to actually
maybe follow
the law.
Right. I just thought it was funny. So if you're a porch pirate, it's bad. And I'm like, what?
I saw a funny. I don't know if it was a life hack or what, but it was basically if you
want to get rid of stuff, just put it in Amazon.
Put it in Amazon packets and just leave it on your porch. And then I was like, that's pretty funny.
I mean. What amazes me, and every time I see something like this, I think, well, good luck with that. Like there was somebody who had a video, and I want to say they were from the north end of Manchester, and they've got this very, very clear video of a woman running up to the porch, picking up a package, and running off. And then there was a video the other day of a guy, I want to say felt like it was on the west side.
Is that like homeless gift roulette?
No,
like what is it? Like are people
but
like?
They're not taking all the packages.
Right, but you just take one and then you're like your Secret Santa and you're like, ta-da! I got a toaster!
Some guy got a video of people stealing rims from his yard.
Wow.
And I was like, but reality is I mean, I'm just from my own personal experiences, when we had video of somebody backing into our car, it took us months to get the police to even. With a clear license plate.
Right.
Like how much more do we have to give you?
Yeah.
And I mean, when people have videos, I mean, it doesn't make the police job any easier because like, who the heck is that person? But I don't know.
Well, it does make the job a little
bit. Somebody's gonna know.
I mean,
I shared that one video because I thought, I don't know, but whoever's stealing stuff off people's porches should be embarrassed. So I'm gonna share it because like that's somebody's relative, and you should be embarrassed when you're outed for being the person stealing stuff.
Oh yeah, and also if it's not yours, don't take it. It's not complicated. So how's your gift shopping? Is everything?
We don't do shopping. I stopped buying Christmas gifts like 20 years ago. It was the best decision I ever made. Well, because I felt like you're just buying obligatory things.
Right.
Not for any, it's not real. And Dan and I don't buy each other gifts because that just seems even weirder sometimes. Because
well, it's also Louis and I are sort of similar. I think
like,
it's also probably people who don't have kids, so you're you're not driven by the narrative.
If we had kids, I mean, when we had friends that had kids that would come over, we would buy things for the kids and everything. But I mean, if Dan and I want something, we buy it. Like you don't have to wait for Christmas for it.
Although I'm kind of like holding out for, I mean, this will be a big splurge and we have to, but I think we're going to combine both our birthdays, all the Christmases, and get a sauna finally because the science now says.
But that's what I mean. That's saying, that's treating yourself outside of the house. That's like, we're going to just buy this somehow, some way.
But yeah, because apparently saunas are like a really great way to just keep your health on track. I did notice in today's paper, because I was like, what is going on in the world, guys? Let's see. So, study, U.S. leads world in years spent sick.
Yep.
No gift like health for the holidays. Maybe there is a trend here. Because basically Americans are sick, and maybe what we should all do for the new year is try to be a little healthier, reclaim your health. And does yawning mean your brain needs more oxygen? Possibly. And also Python research may offer insights on our guts. So it turns out half the health issues
are in our gut.
Are actually gut related.
Yeah, so. I watched a documentary I don't remember when. We watched a documentary and it was all about how the organs talk to each other. Like, you don't realize, like everybody thinks that the brain controls the
based on what I've seen over the past 5 years, I would categorically say that it's not
that's
true.
What everybody said. If you say, what's the organ that controls most things, people are going to say, well, the brain, and it's not. It's like, well, it's like your pancreas or something like that, because it says, hey there, heart, you should probably pump a little faster because we don't have enough oxygen right over here. Those people over there, and you over there, stomach, can you do this?
Turns out we know very little about the human body. It is still constantly being figured out. I mean, the brain gut thing, we kind of knew from, I would say, ancient science, biology, just naturalism, maybe, right? Like people knew there was a brain-gut connection, and then we kind of broke that, right? Like the saying, trust your gut, right?
Right.
And it's turning out that a lot of sugar dysregulates your gut biome, so it creates the wrong kind of little critters in there. And so I just read a thing again yesterday about fasting. And I was like, because I was going over my list. I don't know if you do this, but I was like, okay, what did I do well this year? What did I not do so great? What can I do better next year? What do I want to work on next year? And I was like, I'd wanted to fast, I think it was 5 days every month. Yeah. Some intermittent, maybe like a 2-day one and a 3-day one. And I did it through June-ish, and then work got super busy, and then the excuses start, right? Yeah. But then I read this article again yesterday, and I was like, no, it's something people should put in the mix because it actually helps to fix some of that.
Probably reset.
Yeah, it kind of resets your gut biome, so that you don't just have the ones in there going, feed me, Seymour, so how's the Ozempic stuff going?
Great. I weighed myself this morning.
I mean, I can tell you.
I weighed myself this morning, so since April, we started April 23rd, I have lost 37 pounds.
Good job.
Yeah.
Do you find, though, because I am, like, reading stuff, I asked, because Elon tweeted.
Because Elon takes Ozempic.
Yeah.
He doesn't take Ozempic itself, though. I think he takes
the GLP-1, right? Like the GLP-1.
Yeah, GLP-1s. Yeah, okay. Inhibitors.
So, he tweeted out, this is the fastest way to make the most people healthy. And I was like, is it?
I don't think it's going to be the long-term way to make people healthy. I think what it might do is break the cycle of obesity for so many people.
So that I think is, and in the end, as we say on the show all the time, it's where you have to weigh up different options, right? So if there's a obesity crisis in America, which there is, which then has X, Y, and Z knock-on effects, including causes type 2 diabetes. During COVID, anyone who died of actual COVID died because they had comorbidities. It wasn't the COVID that killed them. It was because they had other things that were issues. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But also, I don't trust Pharma and like what's going on here. And there's no long-term studies and whatever. So I asked Grok.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are the long-term, right? Yeah. And it was like, well, there isn't any data, but this really is the stuff that's coming out. And I think for me, the concerning one was, when you go off it, then a lot of people have this like cycle, much like if you go on to Weight Watchers, you lose weight, then you gain weight, then you lose weight, then you gain weight,
and that would make,
And so that could become problematic. And then the other one was the muscle mass.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that's a real one.
That totally is a thing. Like I say to people.
So you got to go to the gym, Tammy.
Well, you got to do weights. I feel like I've been lifting more things than I've ever lifted in the last.
Moving will do that.
Renovating and moving is like, it never stops. The days that I don't have something to do, which is never, but the days I don't do the things that are on the whiteboard, I feel like I'm a total slacker. I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't put down a floor.
But yeah, so I think.
So there's things. I mean, and I, I was having a conversation with a mutual friend, and she was talking about, she had wanted, there was a oral version, because she was a little put off by having it be an injection, and I was like,
Is it like once a month?
Once a week.
Oh, once a week.
But it's like it's.
Do you do it yourself?
Zian does it for me.
Okay, but you can do it at home. You don't have to go somewhere. Okay.
So and I this person was talking, and there was an oral type of something, and insurance wouldn't cover. Typical arguments, insurance. Because it should probably cost $5, and it costs
right.
Thousands. But then we're talking about other things, and I said, you can't let this possibility eliminate that. You don't have to, in medicine, everything doesn't have to go in one basket. If you have multiple things, if you're trying to lose weight, if you decided you wanted to take this medication, that doesn't mean that you can't also get a sauna, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean you don't do other things to improve your health at the same time.
And in fact, I think those things should be it should be if the government and the Department of Government Efficiency, which I would like to point out is a 4-letter agency,
not a 3.
Therefore, and not a 3-letter, therefore the least efficient agency so far. But if these people are advocating for these kinds of remediations, right? And I get it. Yes, there is a lot of health issues that come with obesity. But then it's got to be like lifestyle change, right? It can't just be like this is a stopgap. I think what it is, and maybe this is your point, is it can be a boost. It's a starting point,
especially
right?
for somebody if you're very overweight. I felt like I was very overweight at the beginning of this, but it's like, especially as we get older. I mean, especially for women as we get older, there's so many factors that change our physiology and make it so difficult for us to either maintain a healthy weight or lose weight. You can't even just maintain.
I might have had one croissant too many this year, guys.
Right, but how crazy is it? You think about it. I mean, you're an active person. You were hiking at Pawtuckaway this morning, and what does the person who isn't doing that do, right? And if this type of drugs, I have a feeling my gut, my gut, I'm gonna guess without any. This is based on I have a bet. This is where we go. I bet 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, they will have tweaked these drugs, this line of drugs, and I think there will be other things that. They're already saying they think that it might have positive effects on the heart, which is interesting because that's another area.
Well, if the conspiracy theory people want to jump on my bandwagon, I'm like, I think there's going to be a lot of obfuscation between what is possible experimental drugs that were put on the market, and then other experimental drugs, and then it's going to be like, oh, we don't know who to blame, therefore, oops.
Well, it can't be any worse than the stuff that they're putting in our food that we've been eating for 3 decades.
So turns out, yes, people are fat because we're poisoning ourselves. I mean, not me. I think everyone should think about their health the following way. You know how they have the workman comp signs where it's like X amount of days since the last accident? So I actually think X amount of days since the last time I had fast food.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I can literally like tell you right now the last time I had a Burger King hamburger, which was the last one. And it was at an airport at 11 o'clock at night. And it was literally the only place that was open, and I was starving, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to eat it, right? But, it's habitual, right? People have these things. And so it's like, hey, if you want to get healthy, you got to change your habits.
Well, like and it is such a habitual thing, because if you look at the price of food, I mean, years ago you could go to McDonald's because it was really cheap, right? But now if you look at the price of McDonald's or Wendy's or something, you're like, what? A cheeseburger $7? You're like, what? You can go, like, if you just need to get lunch and you don't want to make lunch or whatever, I'll tell you, you can go into Market Basket and they will cook you a real hamburger on a real roll with real lettuce.
Oh God, I'm so hungry now. My mouth was literally watering.
You can get a cheeseburger and fries.
Shut up.
Cheeseburger and fries at Market Basket for, I think, $2.99.
Really?
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Maybe it's $3.99 now, but it's ridiculous. Wow. And it's a real beef patty. It's like the Angus beef patty. And it's, it's, at least you're like, that's like food.
Right.
At least it's kind of like food. It might not be the best of the best food, but it's better than those, whatever they're putting in the...
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see with Kennedy coming in. I mean, first
Kennedy,
of all,
then, yeah.
So, I mean, the last thing I saw, I think, yesterday was that there are 3 Democrats that will support him and 3 Republicans that won't or something. Whatever. And so they think he
might be able to
eke in. I'm hopeful that happens, but it's also going to be interesting. Like the friend I was hiking with works at Whole Foods, and he was saying, that Whole Foods is one of the few stores in America that doesn't have all the additives. That's like one of their value propositions, is they don't have the crap that is in everything else. So like if Kennedy actually bans everything, like Whole Foods is going to be like, just come shop here because they've already done the work.
Right. They're more
like
of an organic-y type, like a little earthy, crunchy, or mainstream grocery store.
Sure, but I mean, it's more expensive. Yeah. Here's the reality, right? So people go, good food costs more. But again, you're just trading off
one expense for
expenses,
another.
Right? So it's like, does good food cost a little more? Yes, it does. Actually, to be healthy is not cheap.
Right.
But I haven't had health insurance in like 5 years, and I've never been healthier, and that's because I'm choosing.
And I think if you just take the time to look at what you're purchasing too, like sometimes, because I'm okay, so I'm not to the extreme that I'm only buying, we're just trying to pick and choose a little bit better, and then keep picking better, and then keep picking better. So if I one day I wanted brownies. Oh my God, I actually wanted cookies, and they had none in the store, and then I was like, fine, I'll have brownies. And I looked at the pre-made brownies, and I was like, nope, that's not what I want. So then I thought, I'm gonna have to go buy a box of brownie mix and go home and make brownies. And I did, but then I pick up the boxes, right?
And you start reading.
And I started reading it, and I was like,
ugh.
Oh, what's in this one?
Right.
And I picked the one that was the less bad, right? So then I was like, but that's at least a little bit. Sometimes you look at things, like sometimes it'll be like, sometimes the store brand will be like the least bad. Like, the name that you look at it and it's got all this extra stuff in it, and then you pick up this one and it's got like 3 ingredients in it, and you're like...
And that is the rule of thumb. There's a great Michael Pollan book, something about food, that basically said, look, if you look at the ingredients and you can't say them, which you can't, like all of these things are like, what is
I don't
that?
even know what that is.
Or if your grandma's like, I don't know what that is,
Right.
then don't eat it, right? Like you look at, I just shared a meme yesterday where it was like the ingredients in Europe and then the ingredients for the same thing in America. And it's like this much longer, filled with like weird sciencey
Here's a good example, because a lot of sometimes those big words are things that are preservatives and whatnot. And so there's a lady out in Wakefield that makes breads. So, and I was in the little country store the other day. She had a banana bread. And actually, compared to the price for Market Basket, it was $7, but it was a good sized banana bread. But that's how much it would cost. That's how much banana bread in Market Basket is too. So we cut it. So we've gotten through maybe half of it. Dan cut slices last night, and he brings them out, and he goes, "Do they look right?" And I go, "Nope, they look moldy." So, but there's a difference.
Right.
We bought that, and I was like, okay, so if we buy that. I'm like, well, now what do I do? Because I can't buy this big.
Well, you slice it and
I'm gonna have to freeze
them.
it, right? I said we'll have to be diligent about. We can buy the $7 loaf, and we'll just put half of it right away into the freezer.
And honestly, that is also a relationship with your food where you're being mindful about it, because that whole interaction is portion control. That is deciding before the time, hey, I can have a brownie, but I can only have
I can't have a whole tray of brownies.
I can't eat the whole thing,
we did it with muffins. I absolutely love the muffins from BJ's. And they're relatively inexpensive. And they're, like you get whatever it is, 6 or 8. Whatever the price is, it seems better than what I see elsewhere. And they have like an orange cranberry one. But what we do is we buy the box, and then I just put them all into the freezer.
Yep.
And then if you're gonna want a muffin, we're gonna have to go in the freezer and let it thaw for and then Dan and I are splitting a muffin.
See, that's so interesting. I don't keep anything I crave. I crave very few things, and that was actually the other part of this article that I thought was interesting on the fasting, is part of that reset is when you develop the right biome, is those cravings, because there are certain hormones and there are actually certain bacteria in your stomach that like different things. Like some of them like sugar, right? Like the Cookie Monster, sugar. And so you can train them over time, right? So I don't keep anything that you can... That is going to tempt me.
Well, we laughed
because
in the house out in Wakefield, because we were renovating the kitchen, we took the refrigerator and stuck it out in the garage, which was fine, except for now with it being cold, we never go in the refrigerator. But now our fridge is over there. But it's just funny, you'd be like, it's in the fridge. I'm not going out to the garage. I'm not going to the garage.
So I did notice when I was looking at the paper this morning that, they're talking about insurance ire. Deny and delay tactics fuel anger with U.S. companies. And this is sort of in the wake of the
CEO,
United Healthcare CEO. Shows claim rejections have been on the rise, which makes perfect sense to me, right? We're coming out of this pandemic.
But I think people also, we have to, and this is going to take a long, long time, because this has been my entire, life pretty much. People think that healthcare and health insurance are one and the same. And like and you hear it all the time, the Ozempic thing, somebody will say, well, my insurance won't cover it. Oh, okay, but you understand there are other ways to purchase items without your insurance paying for it. But it's funny how people get so upset. My daughter needs this treatment and insurance won't cover it. Okay, well, if your daughter needs it that badly, find a way to get your daughter the treatment.
Right. Well, both that, but then also we've actually, as a result, I think primarily of Obamacare, but it was medicine's highly regulated enough that Obamacare just compounded it and just made it all worse. But we are calling things insurance, which are not insurance.
No.
So here's a basic example. People complain about pre-existing conditions not being covered. And I'm like, you do understand that insurance is, we're going to take a bet that out of this pool of people, one person's going to get that thing.
Right.
So we pooled the money so that when this person who costs a lot of money, we can use all the money here to pay for this one person.
But I've already got the thing.
But I already have the thing, and you should just pay for it.
And it's
that doesn't
make sense.
Economic sense at all. So if we can go back to just calling things.
If people treated their car insurance the way they treat health insurance, you would never get an oil change unless your car insurance paid for it.
And I mean, that's actually a really great analogy
like
because that is kind of what people are doing. No one gets their oil changed. No one fixes things. No one does the maintenance. And then people are like, why am I broken? And it's like, well, how hard are you trying to not be like sick?
Right.
Right? Like health actually is effort.
Yes.
Like you have to,
well, or at least
you have to do it in order to gain the benefits of it. But then once you gain those.
But I think it's going to come down to, and hopefully Kennedy will get in, and hopefully we'll see some changes. I do think it along with so many things, it's like we have to recondition people's brains to think differently, because we've gotten to the point where people think the only one who can solve your woes is the government. And then they're surprised when it costs money, and this, and everybody thinks every business. I mean, how many people think business and landlords and anybody in the economic private sector, they're all greedy? And I'm like, no, they're just in business, and they're in the business to go make money. They're not there for like.
And also, we're talking about profit margins that are sometimes
minimal.
Like 2%.
When you go in and you complain in a restaurant about something, somebody should smack you upside the head, because restaurants make very little money. Their profit margin is so low, and when your meal's not 100% perfect, and you send it back, and you think you're so smart, and look at me, I'm going to make them cook it again. Yeah, trust me, you're not helping. Like if you own your own mistakes. Sometimes it's their mistakes, and sometimes it's like, yeah, that's actually what you ordered. But yeah.
So, what are you looking for in the new year?
2 functioning bathrooms. No. I do really like that. I really enjoy being out in Wakefield. I said that to Dan yesterday. I said, no, I really like this pace. I like the idea. Dan and Jenny were out walking on the pond. I didn't like watching that, but I was like, oh,
I know. I saw Obi and some friends on the pond.
But it was very frozen. And then he was out there yesterday, though. I'm like, get off the ice. It's like 50 degrees out. So it is a nice pace, and I'm looking forward to getting into that groove more. Trying to be a little bit more deliberate with things. It's hard. I mean, I don't know what that actually means. That just sounds like a can of things to me. But how about you?
I think deliberate is always good, right? Like that is just a question of intention, right? It's like being aware of what you're doing and stuff. So try and ramp up the business more. Obviously, do all of that. I think that's going to be my main focus. I work with my I have lots of fingers and lots of pies, let's say. And so I was talking to my real estate person, and she was like, Carla, you got to be posting like more real estate and less politics and whatever. So I was trying to order my life for next year, and I was like, okay, I think it's got to be like real estate, lifestyle, politics. I just got to get a different flow going for that stuff. I do want to do more strength training. I think, anyone who's a lady,
it's never too early.
It's never too early. It's never too late. I mean, I watch the videos where someone's like 70 and they start. So it really is never too late. But, do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Health, that kind of stuff, lifestyle, try and keep getting better.
Yeah, just always work on the positive. Work on getting a little bit better all the time, and life gets better. Life's too short not to be, like, happy and healthy.
Yes. And actually, health is wealth. I mean, that is kind of the point, right? Like, you don't know it till you get it back, and then when you have it back, you're like, oh, this is worth keeping, so it's worth getting there as well.
On that note, I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays if you are some other denomination, and a healthy, joyous New Year.
All right, and I second that. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.